All right. Welcome to Let Freedom Ring. Before I get into anything, I just want to shout out to my friend Justin and Pep. You are in our prayers. You got the whole softball community behind you. Just know that, but thinking of you, of course. But my guest is the one and only, the host of the French Canadian Legacy podcast, living in Quebec, my friend Jesse Martineau. Jesse, welcome back to the Let Freedom Ring live stream.
Now, am I the most visited guest of the Let Freedom Ring? Do I let Freedom ring more often than anybody, or somebody else let Freedom ring more often than me?
Well, Leo Connors and Bobby Bollier have been on
Dang.
more than I've lost count because they've been in the
Oh,
studio.
okay. Gotcha.
Um,
Well,
you might hold the record though for like remote episodes.
yeah, I've never been in a studio, so
Yeah.
this is
Well,
good. This is even better. Although the benefit of doing it remotely is I get to watch you dance while holding a cell phone during the intro song, so that's
it's
always fun.
true. I mean, and lo and behold, I haven't figured out how to get the music to play straight through the live stream, so I don't have to hold my phone.
No, this is
Uh,
better.
but you do get me to dance. I do like to do the remember when like the Ultimate Warrior would do like
Sure.
his little chop thing. So we try to do that,
Perfect.
on the live stream. But
I love it.
no, good to have you back. We're gonna get into everything going on with your trip. I know,
Uh-huh.
and, you've been there for a few months now. We also just want to address today we lost a legend. Let's see here, Paul
Wow.
Orndorff. Uh, can't believe it. Well, I guess I can believe it. He wasn't doing too good for a long time, but yeah, Paul Orndorff passed away today.
I honestly didn't know that until you sent me that message about wanting to talk about it. So it is kind of crazy though, right? The very first WrestleMania main event, the day that kind of changed the profession forever. No, it's pretty wild.
Well, when you think about it, half the guys that were in the original WrestleMania main event now are gone. Jimmy Snuka has passed away. Roddy Piper's passed away.
Yeah.
Um, and now Paul
Well,
Orndorff,
right.
Mr. Wonderful. I mean, he had a great career. I mean, he was built in the 80s. I mean, he did a lot of stuff with Hulk Hogan. Um, and his career didn't just end there. I think he'll always be remembered for that.
Sure.
But he did have a run in WCW
Yeah.
too.
I had no idea when I saw that he was in his 70s. It didn't register with me till afterwards. Just how old we are and how how long ago that first WrestleMania was. That he would be in his 70s now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, he had a lot of health issues before that. I know, like,
Sure.
because at one point, if you saw him, like, his one arm was much smaller than the other from some kind of injuries from the wrestling business. And then I think his health just obviously has declined
Well,
to what happened today.
yeah. Didn't his son say that he had CTE, like dementia caused by CTE as a result of his wrestling career?
I would have to imagine.
I
I
think that
mean,
that came out a bit ago. Yeah.
he was big too, though. If you remember with him, with he had a lot to do with the pile driver.
Oh yeah.
That was a big move of his. So definitely, rest in peace, Paul Orndorff. Mark Marrow gave him a shout out. Mark Marrow's getting old. Over the weekend, he did the wild thing from off his brother's. His brother has this like giant thing to jump off to jump into a
Okay.
lake.
All right.
And Mark Marrow 61, and he's like, I'm going to show I could still do this.
Oh
So,
man.
so he gave a shout out, but Mark Marrow is 61 years old. Johnny B. Bad.
We've we're getting old there, Dan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He's as pretty as a pitcher. Looks just like Little Richard. Um,
Yes.
Now, but anyways, R.I.P. Paul Orndorff. Very sad. Um, and Jesse, I just want to ask: are you, while in Quebec, keeping up what's going on with wrestling?
Not at all, actually. So I made a kind of a rule to myself. Like I let myself watch stuff in English or read stuff in English on the computer. But I got cable up here. Like I made sure to get a place that came with cable. So I'm forcing myself to never watch any TV that isn't in French. So the
Okay.
only TV I'm watching is in French. So I do get a 1 hour play kind of recap semi show that's dubbed over in French for Raw. So I have no
Okay.
idea what's happening on SmackDown. I have no idea what's happening on AEW or Impact or anything like that. but I do get kind of like a 1 hour like recap of Raw, so I do get that a little bit, which is fun. My favorite part is this is always the same two French announcers. If for whatever reason, one of them every time he talks about Bobby Lashley, he refers to him as Robert Lashley, and then just says the name Bob about 700 times and talking about it. Bob, 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 Bob Lashley. So I think it's pretty fun.
Is it one of the Rougeau brothers?
Not
Not anymore.
No, it's just two guys that I haven't seen before. They're not ringside. They're just two dudes in a studio who are talking over the English broadcast.
Okay, that makes sense. That's because I knew the Rougeau, one of the Rougeaus, and blanking on it because I know Jacques Rougeau. I can't remember what his brother's name was.
Ray?
Ray Rougeau, maybe. I just want to point out something. I hope you get a chance to see the Dark Side of the Ring on uh, Dynamite Kid because
I haven't seen
Jacques
that one.
Rougeau knocked his ass out,
Oh, really?
and he got payback on him and
Wow.
tricked him into thinking that he was going to get Dino Bravo to do something to him too.
The Dark
Pretty
Side of the Ring
brilliant,
with Dino Bravo was crazy, actually.
very crazy. I mean, he messed around with the wrong people
Sure
for
did.
sure. You
Definitely
know.
did. Yeah, he did not have a good ending.
Any local promotions in Quebec in there?
Yeah,
Or
no, that's kind of frustrating. So I did spend some time, even before I came up here. I'm like, obviously, we go to see a bunch of, you know, local wrestling, chaotic wrestling when we're there. I'm like, I got to see what's going on up here. Because obviously a ton of wrestlers have come out of this province, and around here there's like nothing. Everything there's like 3 or 4 promotions in Quebec, but they're all either in or around the Montreal area. So
that
that's like
makes sense.
about 2.5 hours from me. So I haven't. That's a little bit further than heading down to see Chaotic and Woburn. So yeah. So I haven't
Uh,
been able to see any here yet.
totally understandable. I mean, because you're in Quebec City, right?
I am.
Yeah, yeah. And Montreal is more of the hotbed for professional wrestling, without a doubt.
Or anything. I mean, it's just a much bigger town.
Yeah. Oh well, they got hot. Obviously, you got the Canadians just made the. I mean, they got to the Stanley Cup.
It was
Uh,
crazy here. I
yeah.
can't even like obviously I got my socks cap, but I'm a Boston sports fan. But if I'm being objective, I will tell you that there's not a single sports that we follow in New England with as much passion as they follow the Canadians here. I would be lying if I said otherwise. Like when they were in the playoffs, what I thought was completely crazy was they have like their version of like talking head politics TV shows, like MSNBC or Fox News or whatever, like we have in the States. They have like the equivalent here, and even on those during playoff games, they would have a countdown to puck drop. It's like
Oh
not even like sports stations, like politics stations, and it would be the top story on the news every morning would be the Canadians. Like so, yeah, they're nutty about it here.
I mean, there's no better name than what they are. If you're going to be living in Canada, so um, no, they are diehard fans. I believe that thoroughly.
For
I,
sure.
I wish they could have been as much for these guys, but that's neither here nor there.
I'd love
Um,
to see those guys come back. They probably
I'll
needed
be
a better stadium, honestly.
honestly though, nobody wants to watch baseball in a dome. Or it felt like you're inside watching it. Like when I went to watch a spring training game, not the Expos were already gone, and
Okay.
I was like, I can kind of understand why people didn't like this.
Yeah. So I saw a game there, a regular season game, and it was kind of crazy. It was about the most, of course, like everybody else, right? You turn 18, you're from New England, you go up to Montreal and get silly face because 18 is the legal drinking age. So I was, I was very, very hungover at the baseball game, but just watching it was not. I mean, we ran into Manny and Ortiz just on the streets of Montreal the night before. Like my buddies got had a lot of beverages, a lot of adult beverages with Derek Lowe. But yeah,
I've
no,
heard he
just
likes to put him down.
yeah. So it was just like crazy stuff. Like a good friend of mine, he was like kids run the bases day, so it was a bunch of 8-year-olds and my buddy Lee running the bases after the game. Yeah, no, it was just an awesome, awesome time. But there was like nobody there. It was very empty, and people there were all Red Sox fans. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You're right though. Just get a stadium people want to go to.
Do you remember
Um,
Rich Garces, by the way?
yes.
Okay, the big fat pitcher.
Yeah.
I saw him bunt into a double play during that game, which I thought was one of the funnier things I'd seen in a baseball game.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, he was big boy.
He was a
You know.
big dude. Yep.
One thing before we start getting into your trip, I just want to address one thing. Um, do you ever believe in karma? Does karma come around for certain people?
Okay, not particularly, but I have no idea where this is going. I'm curious.
Conor McGregor had a fight this weekend.
I gotcha. Yes.
He had made some jokes about some other people getting it. Here's the injury here. And McGregor breaks what appears to be his ankle here.
It's
Just
gross.
nasty. You don't want to see this to
Yeah,
anybody.
I don't. I don't want to see it. Period.
I get to stop the screen for those who are squeamish.
Yeah.
But Connor's giving crap to people that have had injuries before. Any take on that? Is McGregor he's starting to lose credibility, in my opinion. He talks maybe too much at times.
At his height, he was really good. He's just not. He's not there anymore. I think he might, in a lot of ways, he might be one of the more important people in the history of that sport. I think he's probably the biggest name. I don't think it's probably. I think he is the biggest name in the history of that sport. He's huge. He's the biggest draw. Like all the top MMA money fights, all have him in it. He's by far the biggest draw in the history of the sport. So I was especially when he was coming up, I was way entertained with him. I thought he was hilarious, and he was knocking people out and stuff. But I think it's funny because obviously the fight ended with a gross injury, but I think he was headed for pretty soon to get beat anyway, and this kind of gives him an out of I didn't get beat, I got freak injured kind of deal. So I think that's kind of how he's saving face, because I think it was just a matter of time before he was about to be put to sleep.
Maybe he even planned it. He's like, I know I'm done. Let's just get hurt here.
Let's just break my leg right in the middle of this match. Yeah, no, that was crazy. That was definitely anticlimactic for how that ended.
Yeah, I thought about ordering the fight. I'm glad that I didn't. In all honesty,
Did you watch it the next day? I did.
I think I woke up in the middle of the night or whatever because UFC fights go late anyway. So I'd have to have woken up at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like that casual. Check the phone. What's going on in the world? Conor McGregor's fight didn't even finish. Oh,
yeah.
geez, he broke his leg. I was shocked to see that.
I got up in the morning. I intentionally avoided all social media, and so I could watch the fight. And as soon as it happened, I was like, "This is gross. This is very, very gross."
Just again, for those squeamish, look away. It's just brutal to look at. But
yeah,
I gotta say, either way, I mean, I used to, when McGregor was going to fight Mayweather, I was all excited about it. That was pretty much the hype. But then I really didn't like the way he disrespected Khabib, because I liked Khabib. I like Khabib as he's a wrestler.
sure.
He wrestled McGregor, and McGregor didn't like it. That's why he beat him.
Yeah.
And I just thought the way he acted, I don't agree with disrespecting someone's religion for the sake of ticket sales. So,
yeah, I would suggest that there's plenty of evidence out there that he's not necessarily a great guy.
Yeah,
a great human being.
Yeah.
I think he's perfect for like a WWE. I think he's absolutely perfect for something like that. But yeah, I don't know if he's somebody you want as your son-in-law. Put it that way.
Yeah, and I did watch a video earlier of Brock Lesnar, just because people are like, would you ever want to have a match with Conor McGregor? He goes, he's 145 pounds. I'm 290. He's like, I take dumps bigger than him. And
that is true. Yes, yeah.
Typical Brock. When Brock can actually talk when he's given the chance. I just want to point that out.
For sure.
We got some fan questions. First one that came in a little late from another. Mike's not your co-host. Is he your? Would you say producer?
Yeah, produces, edits. Mike does just about everything. So for the podcast, I host the French Canadian Legacy podcast. I find the guests, I do the research, and I interview guests. Mike does everything else. So the production side, the editing side, the webpage, all social media, handling the Patreon account, like all the money stuff. Mike does all the heavy lifting on the podcast. There's no question about it.
So he has two questions, and he got one late. He goes, any takes on the home run derby that you can clearly see in the background, which I do love this time of year. I don't have a take personally because I hate to say it, I have not been paying attention.
Yeah, this is the. I'm going to be real. This is the least amount of sports I have watched in a very, very, very long time. Like I'm usually obviously I watch when I'm home. I watch the Red Sox every night. It's just kind of the thing that's on my TV when I get home. But I discovered that the home run derby was tonight when I saw it behind you on the TV. So yeah, so
Yeah,
I do not have a take.
I definitely have it on because it's like a tradition. I always have to
Of
have the
course.
home run derby on. But I will admit the last two seasons, last year I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to baseball because obviously the pandemic I felt like ruined a lot of
Yeah,
things.
sure.
This
And
year,
the Red Sox were terrible.
Red Sox were terrible. I hate to say it. I haven't. You know me. I'm gonna be your front running fan when the Red Sox get to the playoffs and be all about it. I have just, for whatever reason, have just not. I've been struggling to just pay attention, and I apologize to my Red Sox nation blood. I guess is
Yeah.
what I would say.
I mean, I suffered through last year. I watched basically every game of that terrible, terrible season last year. So I'm glad that they are actually, playing decent baseball from what I understand now.
Yeah, that's John Henry for you. He's an owner that 1 minute they suck, next minute they're contenders. I wouldn't be surprised if they win the World Series. I'd be like, that's typical of this ownership. You know,
If they win the World Series, I think that manager probably belongs in the Hall of Fame like immediately, considering how terrible they were last year. Yeah.
I think Alex Cora is he's definitely making a name for himself, no doubt about it. Now want to get
Yes.
a little bit into a little promotion here.
Okay.
We'll bring this up. Um, we got the
Terrific.
French Canadian Legacy podcast. These are our stories. Mike wants to know, and this is not the first, not the last time we're going to talk about it, but what's the best way to follow the adventures, preferably in video form? So, what's the best way to follow what you're doing in Quebec?
I appreciate the question, Mike. That's a great way. That's Mike's way of reminding me that I should plug the show because I don't necessarily do a very good job either in this interview or other interviews I've done of plugging the podcast as much as I should. But I actually do a video every day or just about every day. So if you were to follow us, our Patreon page, I do a video, like I said, almost every day, kind of like a recap of what I'm up to. Oftentimes, I try to do one at least a couple times a week in French. They'll do a video. So yeah, you can absolutely follow me and what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis by going to the Patreon page.
How do you get to that? Because I honestly I'm not familiar with Patreon. Do you put that in Google and then just put your name in somewhere?
Sure. No, I can send you a link
We could put a
for
link in the description of this show if you want to get it to me,
sure.
because it will go to you. It's streaming live on YouTube. I want to point that out, not just on Facebook,
Oh,
but also on YouTube. But we can put that into the description of the episode
sure.
as well, so that people will know
Absolutely.
how to find you. Because I'll be honest, I've heard about Patreon. I don't know anything about it. I know I'm old, and I'm missing the boat on some things. So.
Yeah, so I really found it when I started getting into. That's obviously when I wanted to do a podcast. It's one of the things I wanted to do, anyways. I started listening to a bunch of podcasts, so that's kind of how I found out about Patreon. So,
Oh,
for
Mike
like,
Campbell already posted it in the comments.
perfect. So
Nice
Mike's
job,
definitely
Mike.
watching live. There we go. So yeah, so it's like for like $2 a month or something like that. You get all kinds of bonus content because I ask extra questions during the interviews and stuff. You get some behind the scenes stuff. Mike writes up a really nice, like, kind of an update that he sends via email to all the Patreon subscribers. So there's a lot of bonus stuff there, and included in that is my just about daily videos.
Yeah, so check it out. Mike Campbell's put this in the comments. We're gonna get it onto the YouTube description later, but definitely if you want to follow what's going on with him, check out the Patreon. That this is becoming a big thing because I hear it a lot.
Sure.
I'm just so I'll be honest, clueless to what even it is. I guess I'm lucky to even be using the service I'm on right now.
Yeah, it's not hard. I mean, if I can figure it out, it's not hard. I subscribe to a couple different either a YouTube page or other podcast pages. So
We also got a shout out from you from Caitlin Fisher. She just said yes, and I'd like to say on Let Freedom Ring, Fish, Dougie Fresh, congratulations on your engagement. Very exciting stuff. They got engaged at a baseball game. That seems to be what they love to do together.
I was pretty hyped when I saw that. That was cool. That was a good move by Dougie Fresh. Fish is definitely a huge baseball fan. I mean, you figure that. I mean, they move out to Colorado together is probably going to happen at some point, but
Yes.
it's still very very exciting. They're two really awesome people, so I'm looking forward. I'm just inviting myself to that wedding. I assume I'm gonna be so, but I'm assuming I'm going to be invited. Even if I'm not, I'm just going to show up, and that's
Just
going to
hang out at the
be
bar and
yeah, that's fine. They're not going to kick me out. But
yeah.
yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm very very excited for them.
Yeah, they're great people. I'm very happy for them. Had a blast with them in Canada. I know
Yeah,
Fish got very nervous crossing that border with alcohol, and she paid her tax to the Canadian government. So Fish, very nice of you to do that.
a credit to Dougie Fresh because there's a bunch of us in there because we used to go up for New Year's Eve in Quebec City, which is very very cold. But frequently, obviously, we have adult beverages during the trip while we're up
And
here.
just a beautiful city. Just want to point out, especially at this time of year. Um, but
Yeah, so it is amazing. So, but credit the last three going every evening, or me, you, and Dougie Fresh. So he can hang.
Dougie Fresh can definitely hang. I don't care if he wears flat brimmed hats. That is totally up to him. All
That's
right, but we
awesome.
still love you, Doug.
Yeah, he's an
Um,
awesome guy.
wicked good guy. All right, so we got through fan questions. We got through what's kind of going on with things today. Let's get
Yes,
to your trip.
yes,
Um, how long? When did you actually leave? I'm trying to remember now.
sure. So I left at the very end of April,
Okay, so
but
it has been a while.
it's been like 3 months, almost 3 months. But I had to quarantine for 2 weeks when I got here. So the first 2 weeks was just me in. I got a studio apartment. It was just me in this apartment by myself for 2 weeks. That was not super exciting. So even though, like I said, I've been here. I guess I left the 24th of April, so not yet 3 months, but it's only been like a couple of months where I've actually been able to leave this apartment. So
How is that quarantine now? You're not in your typical home. You're probably chomping at the bit to see everything going on. How'd you get through it?
it was weird. Yeah, it was definitely weird. So I did a couple of weeks of online class.
Okay.
So that was cool. That was helpful. But yeah, I mean, after I went through a year of quarantine back
Yeah.
in Manchester, all of a sudden get in the car, and that was an adventure, even being able to get up here. But to be able to get up here, unload a little bit of stuff, get in my apartment, and just kind of same life, just different just different location. It was bizarre.
Yeah, I could imagine. Now, did you have to just stack up on groceries beforehand or having them delivered or anything? Or
Sure. No, I showed up with food. I showed up
okay.
with 2 weeks worth of food. So I think I still have some canned green beans if hanging around at this point. But yeah, no. So yeah, that's kind of what I did. So we're supposed to leave once you're here. So I was really really nervous because I know there's a big fine if you get caught. So I did not want to be an idiot, especially especially since it took me so long to be able to get up here. I didn't want to be an idiot once I was up here.
Totally understandable. Now, how did you end up setting this trip up?
So I was supposed to go last year. That was the deal. And so I've been trying to get this for a while. And thankfully, I'm very lucky. I work obviously with you at the Southern New Hampshire University. And I was granted a leave of absence for 6 months to be able to come up here and learn French. But last year, obviously, the border was completely shut down, closed. I wasn't able to cross the border at all. They switched it late last year to you could cross the border if you had a student visa. So I had a student visa, so that's what allowed me to cross the border this time. But even then, that wasn't super easy. Like I had to bring a negative COVID test with me in the last 72 hours. I had to take a COVID test there. I had to, like, right at the border, you take a test. I had to register my entire travel plans and everything with the people of with the government up here. I was given a test to take in my house at day 10 in this apartment that I had to take and then just leave outside, which I think is kind of wild. Somebody comes and picks it up from outside your place. But yeah, it was pretty nutty. Not an easy process, not a simple process at all.
No, no, no. That sounds difficult, and because I love to go out of order with questions, because I missed one that I actually put on the agenda. How did you get involved with all of this to start? Because this has been like your big mission,
Yeah.
right? Um, but it goes back further. How did you get involved with just the Franco-American culture? I know like I know like your involvement is when you met Tim, but you were passionate before that. When
Actually,
did
yeah,
it, you
sure.
know?
Yeah, I mean, the story I always tell is actually with you, not with your brother.
Yeah.
So if you, I don't know if you remember, right, but for me, oh yeah, first of all, this was my life. I kind of grew up with it. I mean, both my parents spoke French in the house growing up. All four of my grandparents spoke French better than they did English. Even though three of the four were born here in Manchester, I say here because it's where I'm from, but were born in Manchester. There was a day for me that was quite literally a life changing day at the water cooler, which is kind of crazy to think about after 5 years down the road, where I was just kind of going off on a rant about how all the press locally in Manchester was covering all the various Irish American events that was coming up in the city, and I didn't even bother asking. I just assumed by your last name that you were of Franco descent. So
Yeah.
I was like, we got to do something better than this. And I started ranting, and you waited till I was done and told me I needed to talk to your brother.
I was like, I might have a guy for you.
And that's after that, I was at the volunteer for the first Poutine Fest and the second Poutine Fest, and I'm on the board, and now I'm sitting in Quebec City. Absolutely, it all started from that one day at the water cooler.
But the passion started before that, right? Because like you said, it was because the French wasn't spoken in. I had never had that spoken in my household personally. So yeah, so it kind of goes back to that originally.
Yeah, I mean it's something that was always there for me.
Yeah.
And I'd never been super excited about the fact that I was the first in my family on either side. So I'm the oldest. I don't have any cousins older than me. So I was the first in the family on either side that didn't speak French. So that had something that did definitely always stuck with me. Like the church that my sister and I were baptized in was a French church, a noted French church in Manchester. Like a lot of like a lot of churches, it's closed now. I think it's storage for the Palace Theater. But yeah, so I mean, it's just kind of something that I was definitely we would hear it during like holidays, for instance. Like my grandparents, I was very fortunate. Again, my grandparents on both sides went to the same church, so I mean everybody knew each other, and that generation would all get together and speak to each other in French. So I mean, definitely stuff I heard growing up. So it was always part of my identity. It was just something that I wasn't super engaged in until much later.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah. Now I swear I'm going to stay on in the order of the agenda after that.
I have no idea what the order is, so we're fine.
Because I just backtracked because I wanted that first. But
Doesn't
no,
matter
no,
to me.
no, that's awesome. It's good to to understand why that you were passionate about it from the beginning, and how you've gotten all the way from that passion to doing it. So that's big ups to you there. Um, how is the experience going so far, and how is learning French?
Yeah, well, the second part not easy is the short answer. It's learning a second language. I don't know. At least for me, is not something I'm super gifted at by any stretch. But it's been a blast. This is probably the coolest thing I've ever done in my life. It's amazing. For anybody who's ever been to Quebec City, first of all, it's an amazing place. Just an amazing, amazing place. And I'm here at an interesting time too. Still during the world of crazy COVID, which at first was kind of a bummer because it meant a lot of the museums and stuff weren't open. They are now. But I guess the good thing is the tourist numbers are way, way down from what they normally are. So there's been plenty of times where I've just been walking up and down Petit Champlain entirely to myself, or hanging out in Place Royale entirely to myself. And I mean, if this was a normal summer, when a cruise ship comes by, drops off 3,000 people, and they all run to Petit Champlain at the same time, that just wouldn't be reality. So yeah, so it's been amazing. I love the city. People who live here are great. But yeah, and then but for me, it's been awesome. I met some really, really awesome people. I think that's probably true of any life experience, right? It's the people you meet along the way, they're going to make or break the experience. And I've met some really, really cool people on this trip for sure.
Yeah, no, it's super cool that you're doing it. How is the learning French? And I just want to just point out this. This is one of the coolest things I saw in Quebec City because
There you go.
you ain't
Perfect.
getting your last name anywhere here in New Hampshire like this. And I should take a picture in front of it, but I think I made Herbie Dan pull over. I was like, Herbie, in my drunken New Year's Eve voice, which is probably a lot worse than my voice right now, begging him to stop so I could take a picture of it. But how is the learning of French?
No, it's cool. The teacher I have is awesome. He's a really, really funny dude. He's from the south of France, Montpellier, is the name of the town. So really funny dude. And I do it like my class is 3 days a week, 8:30 to 2, and then I get an extra hour beyond that, 2 days a week. So yeah, it's pretty intense. There's definitely plenty of plenty of speaking, plenty of learning. Which for me, I mean, that's what I wanted. I wanted this to be my job. Like, as much as I kept telling myself, I haven't always lived up to it, but I kept telling myself before I came that this was not going to be a vacation. This was going to be a job. I was going to take the time to get up here and do as best I can to learn the language in the time I have, and I have done that. But I have done some pretty fun things since I've been here. If I am being honest with that.
Now, what's a typical day look like?
Sure. So, like I said, my class goes 8:30 to 2 every day. Honestly, I often get up. Not often. I always get up before that. Head over to the cafe, grab myself a coffee, and normally a croissant. Also, kind of hang out, do some homework, whatever. Maybe meet up with somebody from class, then do my thing at school, and then after school it could be who knows, because we're out at 2 or 3 or 30, whatever at the latest. So I live in Vieux Québec. uh, c'est le lieu plus âgé ici, hein, au Québec, et j'aime beaucoup, j'adore mon appartement. Yeah, so the place I live is amazing. I live right inside one of the gates, the Kent Gate. If you know Quebec City, the entire city is walled. It's the only walled city in the Western Hemisphere north of Mexico. So yeah, I live inside the walls, which is a really big deal in here. If you look at property values, they go through the roof if you as soon as you're inside the walls. So I got an Airbnb inside the wall. So just walking around the old city, I do very, very, very frequently. I the my walk to school. I walk to school every day, and so I walk to and back. And my walk to school is basically the entire length of the Plains of Abraham, which again is amazing. I mean, we're talking about one of the most historic places on the planet. So I do that walk every single day. So frequently, what seems to me kind of crazy considering how significant a location it is, but it's not unusual that afterwards, if it's a nice day, a bunch of people from school will head out. There's picnic tables and stuff on the Plains of Abraham. We'll hang out, grab some drinks, just chill on the plains, or head out to a restaurant, or head out to a museum, or there's all kinds of activities that the school even sets up. So frequently, there's definitely a lot of stuff going on. So it's been way, way fun.
Now, are these students, because you're saying other students, are these Americans? Are they people from all over the country, all over the world? Are they
Sure.
who are they?
Yeah. So I thought it was kind of crazy. I'm the only American that I've been in a class with so far. I've been in a class with a young woman from Switzerland, which is
Okay.
kind of cool because it was really funny to me because the first day I showed up, to my class, the very first two people I met, one was from Switzerland and one was from Belgium. And I keep thinking to myself, why don't they just get in a car and drive to the other half of their country that speaks
Yeah.
French? Why are they all the way over here in Quebec? But they had individual reasons to be here, like different, like one family reason, or the young woman for Switzerland, for instance, she had to learn both English and French because she wants to work in the hotel industry. She's got a job future in the hotel industry. So, why not come to Canada, spend a bunch of time in Canada if we got to learn those two languages? So definitely them. There's a number of people from Colombia actually in the program, Mexico. There's other Canadians from other provinces in Canada that were here. I'm trying to think. I mean, yeah, Ecuador. There's Chinese woman. There's been just an Australian. I've met. There's a number of people that I've met through the program from all over the place here. It's pretty neat.
Is the age demographic all over the place? Like,
Yes, yeah, for
yeah.
sure. Yeah, I've had in my class. I mean, there's even people younger than that, but in my class, I've had as young as 18, and there's been a gentleman that's been in there with me who has adult children. So I would say he's definitely in his 50s. So, yeah, so there's a pretty big wide variety. Because the thing is, it's kind of crazy. It's the only school that's kind of left standing. Because you think about it, all these international schools all depended on that's international students is who how they functioned. And when the border, like when the flights couldn't come in and you couldn't come in from a different country, almost all of them went under. There were two in Quebec City that merged, like two otherwise competitors merged into one. That's how they were able to survive. But one of the two schools, one of the two schools used to have prior to COVID had 30 teachers. Now they have
Oh,
two.
well. Oh,
So
geez.
yeah, just to give you an idea of how many students they lost as a result of COVID. So they're very, very lucky, I think, to still be hanging on. But yeah, so that's it. It is pretty well because it used to be like I don't think that there would be that big a variety, for instance, in one single class. But there is now as far as age goes.
That's pretty fascinating, though, that you're getting people from all over the world. You're getting them to learn French in Quebec City. Like, and you're getting all different ages. Like, that's pretty fascinating.
It is
Uh,
really, really fun for sure. Yeah, it's been some really, really awesome people that I've been able to meet through this, and everybody has their own reason for why they're here. So, which is kind of fun too, just to kind of understand. I mean, people are trying to immigrate because they live
yeah,
in super dangerous parts of the world, so they're trying to move here. Where you got others who are just kind of interested because they're from other parts of Canada and think, hey, Canada's got two languages, maybe I should learn the second one. You got others who like the woman I mentioned from Switzerland who needs it for her job. So there's a number of different reasons why people are in this city to learn. But I mean, everybody's in here for a reason. I mean, they're all motivated. They're all paying to be here. We all have an agenda that we need to get better. So it is very, very, very fun in the class for sure. It
right.
doesn't feel like a job. Like
Yeah, yeah.
it's definitely a different life. I don't feel like I'm going to work every day.
Nice. No, that's good to hear. We also have a comment from Tim Bollier. Shocker that he would comment on this.
Nice.
Mount Pillier is where the first Bolliers are from. From our line came from, because Tim is.
Montpellier.
Yeah, and I know. Yeah, I didn't say that correctly, I guess, but Tim
Well,
has followed the whole lineage. So
it is funny because that's one of the things we sometimes we have to do like presentations or whatever on the region you're from, and so I did bring up the fact that this town that my teacher is from is the capital of Vermont, but we pronounce it completely different. It's Montpelier if you're in Vermont. It's Montpellier if you are in France.
which makes total sense. We've kind of, I mean, for years, our last name's Bollier, and we've had to deal with Bolio, Baloo, all kinds of things. And when I say that ain't how my name's said,
Oh, c'est une ville très historique, Montpellier. Et très sportive. Il y a une équipe de rugby. Excellent.
one day I'll know. I'll know exactly.
Mm-hmm. You
But
should.
you'll have to come back and help us all learn a little bit of French when you
Yeah,
get back.
I've picked up some stuff. I'm not where I want to be.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that's kind of crazy with this is students are constantly in and out. So it's funny because there was like a crew that I was able to connect with pretty early on, and a bunch of slowly left over the course of the 2.5 months or whatever that I've been in the, not even 2 months that I've been in the class, and a couple like the last two that are still there with me from that were been around since the beginning are leaving after this week. So I think I'm gonna have a lot more actual studying time. Like for instance, last week, just to give you an idea, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Thursday, I had the most expensive dinner I've ever had in my entire life. It was absolutely amazing, stupid expensive, but it was a blast. I don't regret it at all. Friday, followed that up with a cruise, a night cruise on the Fleuve Saint Laurent, the Saint Lawrence River, um, and open bar, and you can imagine how that went. So that was way fun. Saturday, got up pretty early, head over, caught a ride to Tadoussac, I believe was the name of the town, and did some whale watching and
Oh,
saw
nice.
a ton a ton of whales. Like I was laughing ahead of time, so I was telling the people I was in the group with, I'm like, it doesn't even matter if we see a whale. The most important thing that comes out of this trip is that we make people jealous. So we all agree that we saw 17, right? That's the number we'll agree to. And we got out there, we saw way more than 17 whales. We saw tons of whales. So it was just way fun. Again, this is life now. This is this is what I'm doing. It is kind of crazy.
Now, are you taking a lot? Because I know you're not a big Facebook posting a lot of stuff guy.
Yeah.
Are you taking a lot of pictures that you're going to post later, or is that strictly for the Patreon? Or
Yeah, I've been bad. I will say I've been bad about taking pictures. What I have done is I have taken a lot of video.
okay,
So that I have done. Like there's videos of the cruise on the St. Lawrence. That those exist. There's video of the boat, at least that I took for the when we went on the whale watch, because it was not a big boat. It was a Zodiac. For anybody you want to Google a Zodiac, that's what we were on. So that was very crazy. But we got a tour, behind the scenes tour of Chateau Frontenac, for instance. So I got some video there as well. So yeah, so the videos I've been pretty good about taking. I've done a not so great job about taking photographs.
fair enough. As you know me, I'm a big photo guy.
Yeah, I'm not good at
So
social media generally. Thankfully, I
that's why you
just
have Mike.
I take the pictures on my cell phone, just immediately the videos, and just immediately send them to Mike. Absolutely.
And Mike wants everybody to know Night Cruise video now up on Patreon, featuring copyrighted music that YouTube got mad at us about. Yes, YouTube definitely will get mad at you about that type of stuff. So,
Yeah,
um,
see, I didn't expect that, but it did at some point in the evening kind of turn into a semi dance party.
yeah,
It did, but I mean the city from the river at night. I mean, it's beautiful all the time, but at night from the river is really beautiful.
nice. No, that sounds like a great time. Now, I got to ask the question that everybody wants to know:
Okay.
how has the poutine been? That's what it's all about. We've been part of Poutine Fest here. You've been a part of the reviews that I used to do that I haven't been really doing much lately. How has it been? If you've is there been a best place that you've enjoyed it, or
Yeah, one bite, everyone knows the rules.
yeah,
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, this poutine obviously here is everywhere, and it's legit. They take it very seriously. I think everybody kind of has their personal like favorite place. I There's a place not far from me that has puts in with sausage. I'm a big fan of the puts in with sausage. I will say that.
that sounds amazing.
On place on Rue Saint Jean. Rue Saint Jean is one of these streets that has like a ton of restaurants slash little shops and stores and stuff, and it's kind of a big touristy place, honestly. But the restaurants there are still pretty good. They are really good, actually.
Well, they're going to be good if they're getting tourists
Yeah,
because that's word of mouth. You know,
yeah. So there's a place there that I definitely go to for my poutine avec saucisses. Yeah, that's a big fan. Yeah, but yeah, poutine is a big thing. I've definitely tried stuff here that I did not know really anything about. Like, for instance, I can't find just little stuff that you never think of. I can't find Cool Ranch Doritos up here anywhere. Apparently that doesn't exist,
yeah,
but they do have ketchup Doritos.
Okay.
So yeah, so I purchased those one time and not a fan. I did.
I couldn't imagine that being good.
It's not really great. I did a taste test video that I can't figure out how to because my technical skills are poubelle, to use a French word. They're complete garbage. I was not able to send to Mike, but I took the video. There's a video of me trying all dressed potato chips for the first time. That was a one bite everybody knows the rule situation. But yeah, so that was very different. It's like I don't even know what it is. Like a combination of maybe it's like barbecue plus salt and vinegar or something. It's there's a lot of flavors going on in the mouth when you have some all dressed chips. But yeah, there's all kinds of different. Like I can't find for there. Nobody has brown sugar cinnamon Pop Tarts, which semi annoys me for whatever reason. But
Can you
because
find
obviously I'm very much an adult if I'm looking for brown sugar cinnamon Pop Tarts. But yeah.
random? Can you find sunflower seeds easily? Because that's what I need to survive.
That I haven't necessarily looked for sunflower seeds, but yeah. So there are definitely different things. Even like the because on the way back from the whale watch, we stopped off at a McDonald's, and even like the menu at McDonald's is different, and how they even make a bacon cheeseburger is different. So yeah, there is definitely small differences from the States. It's pretty fun.
So I remember that I took a trip to Canada back in like '04, before I was like really into poutine and stuff. And they would put gravy on the French fries at Burger King. They do that at McDonald's?
You can get it puts in.
Yeah, okay, they will. They will.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. You can get that, but
because I remember in '04 it was they wouldn't put the cheese on it,
oh,
but
okay.
they would put gravy on fries, which is
Yeah,
still. I'll still eat it, you know.
yeah. I mean, that's one of the first time. I mean, I had it at Chez Vachon, obviously, when I was a kid, but probably the first time I had puts in Quebec was when I was, 18 and a little bit silly face after a night out on, one of them crazy streets,
Yeah.
Crescent Street, and then found myself at a McDonald's at 3 a.m. getting some puts in. But yeah, so it definitely does exist.
Yeah, no, I mean, good to hear. Obviously, we have our favorite places here. I would like to get back. I actually shared a review that we did. We went to Limitless Wrestling a while back. Now they're running shows again,
That's
so
cool.
definitely want to get back to Maine. Definitely want to get some reviews going.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I can't wait till the next Puts In Fest can happen.
Same. I will say this because I've been called out about this, and as the years go by, I'm not as big a fan of Portnoy. And
Okay.
I know I've used his catchphrase to do poutines. I need to before I ever do another review. It's time to have a new saying.
You got to come up with a new catchphrase.
I should have my own catchphrase. It
I'm looking.
started off
I'm
small.
looking forward to hearing this. Sure,
We'll see what happens there. Um,
sounds
now,
great.
now, what has been your absolute favorite part of the trip?
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess in general, it's been, like I said, the people I've met on the trip has been the best part of the trip so far. But besides that, I think the location of where I live is amazing. It really, really is amazing. Like I live in one of the more historic neighborhoods in the entire hemisphere, and I'm very fortunate because I can walk just about anywhere I want. It takes me about, it takes me about 40 minutes to walk to my school, which like I said is on the other side of the Plains of Abraham. But 40-minute walk, maybe not super fun, but when that walk is seriously taking you through the Plains of Abraham every day, that's an awesome way to start your day. So that's very, very fun. It takes me about 10 minutes. I'm at Chateau Frontenac. Maybe 15 minutes. I'm in Bassville. I can walk through Petit Champlain. I can walk through like Place Royale. I'm hanging out in a neighborhood from 1630s or whatever. So yeah, well the first one was 1608. But yeah, the church that's behind me in that picture is a 17th century church, and these are all places that are super super close to where I am now. And this is not a difficult life that I've been living for the past 2 months for sure. Yeah, and I got to do it's just amazing things. I mentioned a couple checking out the museums. The Musée des Beaux-Arts up here was really neat. Musée de Civilisation. People who know me know I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to museums. I love museums. But yeah, just checking out all the history, the culture, the food. It's a really neat place. It's a really, really neat place.
Awesome, awesome. Now I got to ask one question here. Another question here. I'm someone that doesn't like to leave. I love New Hampshire. I
Yeah,
love being home in New Hampshire. Um,
we've discussed this. Yes,
have you felt any homesickness at all?
I like where I am. I mean, I love New Hampshire, but this isn't not. I mean, I lived in
You
DC
know
for
it's
eight.
not permanent. Oh
Yeah,
no.
and
Oh, that's true though.
yeah, I lived in
Yeah.
DC for 8 years. I was in Philly for 3 years, so I've gone much longer than I'm here now outside of New Hampshire. I do always end up coming back. Uh, but and it'll be cool, to come back when the border opens, hopefully, and have some visitors and whatnot. This is not far, 5.5 hours away, so it's not like I'm super far. But I will say I am very, very much enjoying where I am right now, for sure.
Very awesome. And hopefully, I don't know if you have any sway there. Tell them to open the border so I can play in softball on Labor Day because I want to get back there and play softball against Canadians. That's one of my favorite things to do. The French
Yeah,
Canadians, especially, yeah, that's who we play. It's Saint Isidore. So, uh, yeah, write a letter to Trudeau for me.
yeah. So he needs to, because I mean, right. What's frustrating for me is that they're making it so people with who are either permanent residents or citizens of Canada don't have to do the 2 weeks of quarantine anymore. But neither of those are me. So um, I'm going to have to, as of right now, I do need to return to the States because I have multiple sclerosis, so I have to do one of my treatments. So I'm gonna have to stop in the States, and I am not excited about having to come back and be in this apartment for 2 weeks when I return. That would be a major, major bummer. So I'm hoping that rule changes pretty soon.
Oh, so that's still the deal that you have to do 2 weeks?
Yeah,
See,
that would stink. That would stink big time.
I don't want to go into a COVID rant here because that could obviously happen, but you're fully vaccinated, correct?
I got my second one in March.
Okay.
Yes.
So, yeah, no, I understand that frustration. Um, let's just bring it back because I know Mike Campbell will actually really appreciate this. What is the state of the podcast right now? What's the future hold for the French Canadian Legacy podcast?
Yeah, so we recorded a bunch ahead of time, like before I left. But we are coming up on the end of the pre-recorded episodes. So I am going to start. I haven't yet, but I got a couple things lined up. I'm going to start recording shows from here pretty soon, and so then, I mean, that's the goal. Since we started, a couple 2+ years ago, whatever, 2.5 years ago, we've always had something to release on a Tuesday, and that's going to be the goal still going forward. So I just gotta make sure to get some recording in while I'm here. Like I said, I already got a couple lined up, so I think that's going to continue to be fine. And I'm looking forward to doing that. Hopefully, I'm be able to connect with some of the people I've met up here, because I met some really interesting people since I've been here, for sure. Like the head of the Centre de la Francophonie des Amériques. Super interesting guy. I got to meet him. Woman running for mayor of the town. I got to hang out with her for a bit, which was super interesting. So, yeah, just a bunch of really cool people in Quebec that I've had the opportunity to meet, that I think would be cool to be able to get on the show, and that's kind of what I'm aiming for, as well as some others from back in New England that I just hadn't had the time to record with yet. But through the magic of Zoom, I can now do that.
Now, is that a selling point too? While you're meeting people there, is like, hey, I also have a show. I'd like to
Well,
have you on it.
I don't know if that's how I introduce myself, but
Not introduced. I guess I always try to sell my. I'm a seller,
yeah,
like
yeah. No, I
uh,
get it. No, I do. I mean, I do mention the show.
yeah.
Pretty, yeah. When I meet people up here, though, it is fun because some of the people I have, like the two examples I gave there, were both from because of the show. Like that's how I was. Actually, it was people did the introduction for me. Like, hey, this guy Jesse's going up to Quebec. Maybe you guys should connect. That's how I was able to meet them. There's a documentary filmmaker from Montreal that I met, that I had been going back and forth with because of the podcast, that I got to meet in person when I went to Montreal. So I'll be able to do an episode with him for sure coming up. That'll be the goal. So again, and those connections were all, there wasn't like a, hey, I'm Jesse from and I have a podcast. It was all, I got to meet them because I had a podcast, kind of
Makes
thing. And so
sense.
people had told, either they heard the podcast themselves somehow, or somebody told them about me and that I was coming up. So that's definitely how I've been able to make some connections. It's opened doors for me up here, which I think is very, very cool, very neat.
Now, have you got to meet Luke in person at all?
I had before,
Oh,
not
okay.
not up here, not since I got up here, but I had met him. Like, he attended some Franco-American Center events.
How do you say his last? It's Trepanier,
Trepanier.
Trepanier.
I
He's a
like
good guy.
I like the way you said it better though. That's kind
Yeah,
of fun.
yeah. Because I know he was excited because I saw a post of him when you were coming.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so
So we had made we actually had made plans for the weekend, like real early on. There's a day off, a school day, like federal holiday, not federal. It's a provincial holiday here for like the 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 Patriots Day kind of thing. And we had made plans to meet up then, but it was during the time where COVID was still super strict, and you weren't even allowed to travel between regions of Quebec.
yeah,
So I thought, not only traveling between, if I showed up with New Hampshire plates, that would be a pretty big sign that I wasn't from,
from
the
where?
Trois, the
Yeah,
Trois Rivières region. So I thought maybe that would be a bad idea. Yeah, yeah. Showed up with New Hampshire plates, checked into a hotel, probably not from Trois Rivières. So we kind of had to put the end to that one. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'll still meet up with him. Yeah, I haven't seen Saint yet, so definitely it's a place you got to check out.
awesome, awesome. And the final question: when do you return? And when you do return, what's gonna what kind of changes? Is there going to be any changes, not just maybe to your everyday life, to the podcast, everything in general that you've learned from this experience?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I mean, that's the reason I'm here. So I'll be back middle of October. Yeah,
Oh,
that's supposed to be.
wow. So that's still
Yeah,
quite a ways away. Yeah.
that's what I'll be back full time. Like I said, I do have to come back at least briefly for some treatment, but then I'll be back full time in October. But yeah, I mean, it's like anything else. I know for sure if I don't use it, I will lose it. So my intent is to be as active as possible within like the French speaking groups. Definitely look forward to having. I'm gonna make my folks have often I would get together with my parents on Sunday nights for dinner. I'm gonna make my parents have that Sunday night dinner in French. Is what my goal is gonna be when I do that. So I think that'll be way fun. But I think there's just gonna be so much more culture that will be available to me that wasn't before. Like books, I'll be able to read, documentaries, I'll be able to watch, just music, I'll be able to understand the lyrics of, like just like a bunch of stuff that prior to now, um, just really wasn't available to me because I didn't have the language piece. Now, I mean, I've said forever, and that's something I fight about with people up here, because the whole idea of language and culture are almost like synonymous here. Like how when I tell people that I'm Franco-American but I don't speak French, they look at me like, "Well, what else is there?" Obviously, the only thing to culture is language. Like, no, there's not. So I honestly believe that there's much more than just language. That being said, I know there's a lot of the culture that I will not have the benefit of until I can speak French. So that is definitely my hope. And I hope to be always have an opportunity to. I mean, this isn't far. We've made this drive before.
Yeah. Yeah.
I definitely
It's
hope
fun.
to be able to visit up here as much as I can, even after that. But yeah, no, it's been so far. I'm only halfway done, but it's been an amazing experience. Absolutely.
No, no, awesome. And I appreciate you coming on to talk about this. We will do the Bollier Martineau Poutine challenge at some point. Um,
What I wanted to have happen is if the border opens,
have
I
a,
think I think we
ooh,
should let freedom ring from Place Royale. That's
that
what we
would
should do.
be, I mean, honestly, open the border, I'll be right over.
There
You
you
know,
go.
I can't wait for that. But no, no, I'm glad that you're doing what you're doing. Very proud of you for
Thanks,
doing
man.
that. And No, this has been a great episode, Jesse. I love you, brother. We'll,
Anytime, man. Of course.
we'll be doing it again. Thanks for telling us about your experiences. Everybody, we will be back in the studio this week with Matt Hafner. But
Nice.
until next time, let freedom ring.